Good morning, dear academicians and professors. Greetings from Prague, the most beautiful city of the Czech Republic. Before starting my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Mehmet. For more than 2 years. Before working there, I used to study in the Czech Republic. I got my PhD there and I worked in some postdoc position in different universities. As you can see from the presentation, my department is International Trade and Business. And if you let me know something more about me, this is my email address and civelek@doğuş.edu.tr. So today I would like to give you a general overview of my topic, my research, namely the impact of relationship lending and bank credit access of SMEs. Before giving you some details about the outlines of my presentation, let me show you the acknowledgements that the university that I work supports me. As you see, I am like a manager of a research project, and the university that I work in, the Doğuş University, has supported me to come to and to participate this conference. Maybe I am the only one who came to the Prague in Czech Republic to be participated in a conference. Let me skip this slide and finally we come to the outline of my presentation. As you see here, I will develop like three basic points for my presentation today. Firstly, I will emphasize the introduction, research questions, and development of hypotheses. Then I will move on data collection and data analysis, empirical results, and finally I will conclude my research by mentioning the significance of the study and the limitations. Then now I am moving on to some basic points of my research. As you see, the aim of this research to investigate the impacts of relationship lending on bank credit access of SMEs. As you can easily guess, SMEs are called as like a small and medium enterprises. It has different kinds of definitions, but I use the number of staff accounts here because it is used in some European countries and also Turkey too. This is the reason why I only taken the a number of staff accounts for the definitions. Then to measure the independent variables of this research, namely the relationship lending, I use three different dimensions. One of them is the length of relationship. As you see here, it is measured by the number of years that they have in this relationship. That means the banks and also the companies. Then concerning the second variable, as you see here, namely the closeness of communication. It is measured by the number of meetings and interactions. You can also call it like a frequency in the meetings, like a number of meetings in a week or in a year. I measure it by using this measurement. Then the last one that shows that measure the relationship lending is the exclusivity or house bank status. So concerning the definition, as you see here in this slide, it is determined by the percentage of the main creditor of SMEs in the total credit amount that have received from various banks. That means imagine that I have a company and maybe I have only received a credit from one bank. In this case, the percentage will be 100%. So this is like a house bank state, like a house bank that I have been working with. And the last variable that I would like to explain is the dependent variable of my research, namely access to finance, actual access to bank finance. As you know, many SMEs, since they have lack of internal resources and financial capabilities, they suffer a lot to receive credit access. But I am providing a solution how companies like SMEs can reduce their concerns regarding to access to bank finance. So the solution is the relationship lending. Then I would like to show you the research question as it is shown here in this slide. Do the variables of relationship lending, namely the length of relationship, the closeness of communication and the household status have positive relationship with bank credit access of SMEs or not. So I am trying to find the answer of this research question. Moving and next slide, I would like to show you the development of hypotheses. Actually, there are like three basic hypotheses in this research. So the first one shows whether there is a positive relationship between the length of relationship with banks and bank credit access of SMEs. What is important here is that, as you see, when the number or year of relationship becomes widened or higher, banks start to know SMEs more in detail because they will keep in touch together, they will share some ideas and information, then the banks will be able to accumulate more information. Then, when they know it, I mean, the banks become aware of the characteristics and qualities of companies, in this case, SMEs. They can provide better credit conditions, such as they will ask for maybe lower amount of collateral, or they will charge SMEs with lower expenses, since they become able to know how the SMEs characteristics are. Then moving on the next hypothesis, I would like to show you the closeness of communication and the relationship with access to bank finance. So when the companies, SMEs, and I mean the banks have more like an interaction between each other, they will also share ideas again, and then the banks also will be aware of how companies' characteristics and qualities again. In this case, they will provide as a bank, they will provide better solutions or better credit access opportunities for businesses, and SMEs will be more likely to gain credit because of gaining more information about the quality of firms. So the hypothesis, the second hypothesis, can be set as whether there is a positive relationship between the communication, closeness of communication with banks and credit access of SMEs or not. Finally, we come to the last hypothesis. As you see here, it is related with the scarcity of husband status and the access to bank finance. As I have already mentioned a little bit, for instance, if a firm has only one credit relationship with a bank, so it is called as house or main bank. In this case, the main banks uh, become have more interactions with firms and gain more knowledge about their borrowers. For this reason, they gain more information, and information asymmetries between both parties becomes reduced. For this reason, SMEs faced with lower obstacles and become more likely to receive bank credit. This is the reason why the last hypothesis is set, is whether there is a positive relationship between the exclusivity or house bank status and bank credit access of SMEs. Next, I would like to emphasize the data collection and data analysis. The data that I use for this research is gained from Turkish SMEs, and I have used like a stratified random sampling method that based on geographic regions. To gain this data, I gained the list of the SMEs from some member of the commerce, the Chamber of Commerce in Turkey, and then I created like an online questionnaire. Then I shared this questionnaire, the link of the questionnaire by the emails, and finally 479 SMEs that are located in Turkey, fulfill these questionnaires. The respondents are like a company executives such as managers and owners of SMEs. Concerning the data analysis, I use binary logistic regression. The reason for that is easy actually, because my dependent variable access to finance is measured by the dichotomous questions. I will show you in the next slide. So as you see here, to evaluate the access to bank finance, the following question is considered: did your firm receive credit from the last bank credit application? So the answer was yes or no. This is the reason why I, applied binary logistic regression. There are actually three different, research models, but in the each of the research models, I had like a different, independent variables. For instance, in the first research model, the length of relationship lending is the independent variable. So in the second one, the closeness of communication. The last one in the last, let's say, research model, exclusivity or house bank status was the independent variable. Beta 1, 2, and 3 are like a regressing coefficients, while the beta 0 is constant or intercept term. Then I also, perform some analysis, such as, the assumptions of the binary logistic regression, like models such as linearity, independence of errors, or sample size, model fit, multicollinearity. Those are the assumptions that I have analyzed, and concerning my analysis, I have already fulfilled all of the requirements of the binary logistic regression model, I mean the assumptions. Then I performed all of the analysis in the SPSS statistics. And finally, by fulfilling those assumptions, I became able to, impose my analysis by using the logistic regression. So concerning the data collection and data analysis, I will now mention another important measurements and variables. I have already mentioned how I measure the access to bank finance, but considering the variables of the relationship lending, I used like a categories and rank data, category and rank data. So as you see here in this slide, the measurements for the lend of relationship lending is how many years have you been in transaction with the bank. So as you see, the choices are like a different. First one is from 0 to 4, then 5 to 10, and the last one for more than 10 years. So when the years of relationship increases, that means companies and businesses, I mean the banks and also SMEs, can get closer contracts, and they, reduce information asymmetries more. So concerning the second one, the second variable, the closeness of communication, I use the following survey question, namely how many times have you been in contact with this bank? In person, email, telephone, once a month, once a week, or several times a week. So higher, meetings frequency shows better, like a more close communication between both parties. Concerning the last measurement and last variable, I will mention the exclusivity of house bank status. As you see here, the question, the survey question that I consider for this research is the how many percent of your total debt financing was provided by the bank. So there are three different choices: less than 50%, 50 to 99%, and finally the 100%. That means the 100% means like a main bank, because if I have a debt from a bank, that means this is my main bank. Then now I would like to clarify the research results depending on each hypothesis. So you can see, you can have a look at the table 4 here, and it shows the results for the first research model. Concerning the variable, as you see, there is a short name such as LO and R. You can call it as a length of relationship lending. And when we move to p-values here, as you see, it is 0.005. It means it's lower than the selected significance level. So 5% significance level is selected for the a data and also hypothesis testing. Since this p-value is lower than the selected significance level, we can say that firms having more years with banks in their relationship are more likely to gain credit comparing with their counterparts that only lack of years in their relationship with banks. Why I called it is the beta coefficients, as you see, is positive, is 0.278. This is the reason why there is a positive relationship between the length of relationship lending and access to bank finance. Concerning the second research model and the results of it, table 5 is provided here. again, when you have a look at the circle, here in the p-value is 0.015. It is also lower than the selected significance level. So COC, that means the closing of communication. In this case, firms having more closer interactions with the banks becomes more likely to access the bank finance again. So we can also, certify the fact that there is a positive relationship between of communication and access to bank finance. Finally, we come to the last, let's say, research model. I would like to draw your attention here again, the p-value, as you see here, in the variable EHNS, exclusivity or husband status, since the p-value here 0.027 is lower than 5% significance level, and since the beta coefficient is positive, in this case we can confirm the H3 hypothesis that confirms the positive relationship between exclusivity or husband status and access to bank finance. So to conclude, we can say that there is a positive relationship between relationship lending and access to bank finance. We have already confirmed all of those, variables and the positive relationship between them from this table 4, table 5, and table 6. You can see that. And concerning the reason of this result, we can mention the, some cultural characteristics of the country that I have analyzed. For instance, according to the state, Turkey is a collectivist country. That means people, collaborate together to achieve some task. And since banks in Turkey and SMEs in Turkey are close related, they get very close contact with each other. This is one of the characteristics of collectivist country. Concerning another reason, I will mention the operational experience of SMEs. In the most of the SMEs in the research sample operating more than 10 years. On the other hand, executives that I have, investigated actually have more than 10 years sectoral experiences. I mean, the most of the executive survey participants. And since they have, more years experiences, sectoral experiences, and since the firm that I have analyzed have been operating for more than 10 years, they could have more years in their relationship between their banks, and this fact might be the reason why there is a positive relationship between relationship lending and access to bank finance. And finally, we come to the significance of the study. Is, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, like interaction between people became more online versions such as mobile phones, or we use Zoom here. We are, we don't have to go to other countries to have a conference. And this is like an example that we are doing now. For this reason, banks also and companies also follow the same. They made lots of transactions by using their mobile phones. And this is the reason why I have also, focused on the relationship, close interaction between companies, not only by like a face-to-face interaction, but also for some tools, like a communication tools such as mobile phones or telephones, and emails, other like a communication channels. This is the reason why this study highlights the importance of the relationship lending on bank credit access of SMEs. Then another important fact that this research emphasizes the closing of communication, close ties and close interactions are, mostly used in the study when you compare with other studies that focuses on relationship lending. This is the reason why this study also performs 3 different variables to have a wider scope when analyzing relationship lending. Then also this study fosters the knowledge on the determinants of SMEs, bank credit access. And this is the reason why, it provides many benefits, not only for SMEs or researchers, but also for lending institutions, firm executives, and policy makers. By doing so, companies can get more contact with each other. They don't need to have a face-to-face meeting. They can communicate together to get, as a company, to get better credit access condition. They can provide more information about themselves. They can provide better information. There can be like a transparency. These facts, all those facts make companies and banks to reduce information asymmetry between them. This is the actually main obstacle in credit access of SMEs. On the other hand, this study has some limitations. As you can easily guess, this study only focused on the Turkish SMEs, and I have only focused on the, SME segment. So some studies also look at, some larger enterprises when they analyze this issue. Then I have only focused on also bank financing in this research. So other studies can also look at some financing or other financing options for SMEs. Then the study does not, investigate or analyze any hard data from financial statements. It only, includes the perspectives or perceptions of company executives. So it mainly based on soft data. This is the reason why I called as a limitation of this study. So further studies can also include some hard data to provide better solutions for the credit access of SMEs. And those are the everything that I would like to say regarding my study. I hope you gain some insight about, my paper, my research. I really appreciated the help of the conference, organizations and then organization teams who work sufficiently, and they, keep in touch with me always and try to help me when I have an issue. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope we will keep in touch in the future, and we will have a collaboration, and we will have maybe new studies together by participating also new conferences. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a nice day, and greetings from Prague again.